meeting by the chair, since she's not available due to some unavoided circumstances. And therefore, she requested me to share this meeting on her behalf this morning. And let me firstly welcome you all. And let's hear the agenda from Mr. Jerry. Mr. Jerry, the agenda, please.
Okay, yes, the agenda, Chairperson. I don't know whether can you see from your side?
Yes, it's still in the morning, so my eyes are a bit weak. I can't see it, but you can read it for us.
Okay. Chairperson, today is the 25th of August, and then our agenda item. As members may know, in the past few weeks, we were receiving annual reports from the department. So the department and the entity and other people involved. So on the basis of that, now we have to finalize our budgetary review and recommendation report. So our agenda basically, the committee will consider its draft 2022 budgetary review report, and then we will deliberate on it, and then thereafter we will look at the minutes of the last meeting of the portfolio committee, Chairperson. So that is the agenda, Chair, for today. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, so in other words, you have the drafts with you, and then you circulated the draft to the members. Am I correct?
Yes, Chairperson, all documentations for these meetings have been circulated to all members.
All right. So the first item, as you said, is the one that is going to speak to the draft report.
Yay.
So are you going to go through to the report, or who is going to do it? Is it Dr. Kuzwayo or yourself?
Chair, Doc will lead, and then where there are gaps, and then myself and the researcher will come in, Chairperson. I am not sure about the approach he has formulated. We can find out from him what will be the approach, Chair. Whether we will take the report throughout, or we will go to observations and recommendations, and then we allow members to reflect on what we have developed. I am not quite sure, Chairperson.
Okay, let us hear from Dr. Kuzwayo, our content advisor, how he's going to approach the report. Over to you, Dr. Kuzwayo.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, I'm listening, Honorable Mr. Kuzwayo. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chair. I'm not sure. I think there's an honorable member on the line that is seeking attention of the chairperson.
Okay, I can't see the member because I'm not the one sharing, but the honorable member is welcome to air the views.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. It's KP Sitole.
Yes, Honorable Sitole.
First of all, I want to apologize that I will leave the meeting at 11 because I have to attend to the transport. There's some bills there in transport. And the other thing, Chairperson, I was with the Honorable Fraser yesterday. We didn't receive any report, the draft report. So I don't know, it's only me or everybody received that report. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stolle, Honorable Stolle. And I hope Mr. Bortina will respond to that, maybe before you can go to Dr. Kuzwayo about the documents. If he can do that speedily so that he can also have the report and read it as we speak, or if you can email it to Honorable Stolle.
Oh, all right, Chairperson. I am not sure what might have happened, but as far as I know, all members of the committee have been given circulated the documentation for this meeting. As to why it did not arrive to him, I am not quite sure. But I will just forward it just right now, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's
thank you,
proceed.
Chair.
Thank you. Let's proceed, honorable members, to the report itself. Mr. Kuzayo will actually take us through the report and the format. I don't know which format he prepared for the presentation today.
Thank
Over
you,
to you.
Chair. But there's another hand from Honorable Gumbi.
Oh, there's another hand. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for helping me because I don't have a sharing facility here. Honorable Gumbi, please, over to you.
Hi, Chair. No, it's just to notify the Honorable De Freitas asked that I just say that he will be joining the meeting a bit later, walking around. Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Because you cut terribly. I couldn't hear you, and maybe the recording did not capture you well.
Sorry, Chair. I was just notifying you that Honorable De Freitas is going to be joining the meeting. He's just walking around, still trying to find proper signal.
Oh, thank you very much,
Sure.
Honorable Gumbi. Yes, I can. Is this hand another hand? Okay, it's removed. Thank you very much. No, the apology is noted, Honorable Gumbi. Over to you, Dr. Kuzayo.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, honorable members and colleagues. As Mr. Poltina has alluded, we are presenting a draft budget review and recommendations report for the 21-22 financial year. And maybe before I start, Chairperson, our request will be that at least by end of this meeting, we have all the inputs from members so that we are able to ATC the report today, because the MTBPS is tomorrow and we should ATC the report before the MTBPS tomorrow. So our request is whatever additions to the report, members would make those during this meeting. And in terms of the approach, due to the length of the report, we have a 65-page report, and the reason thereof is like we have two BRRRs in one report, because the committee took a decision way back that South African tourism will also need to be reported on extensively, since they consume more than 50% of the portfolio budget. So we have extensive reporting on both the department and the entity. So in order to save time, I'll request, with your permission, members, that I just zoom into the observations, which start from page 47 of the report, if that is agreeable, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair. So as a background to this report, members have gone through, thank you, Chair. Members have gone through the annual report of the department and the annual report of South African tourism for the 2021-22 financial year. And the committee also had the benefit of meeting the Auditor General, where the findings were reported to the committee, and those were used to interrogate the annual reports of both organizations. In essence, in the annual reports, it emerged that the department performed in in a way that is not that satisfactory to the committee, if I may put it that way. The committee was not entirely satisfied with the performance due to the reason that there was 99.7 expenditure of budget of 2.54 billion that was appropriated for the portfolio. And of that 2.53 billion, almost 100% of the budget was achieved or was spent, but only 80% of the targets were achieved. And that is what caused the committee to be not entirely happy with the performance. So also with regard to the audit opinion from the Auditor General, though the Auditor General made findings that there was an improvement in the entire portfolio, both the department and South African Tourism having received unqualified reports with findings on compliance with the legislation, but the committee observed a number of repeat findings, and which pointed to the audit action plan having not been implemented entirely, and that caused a concern for the committee. So then the observations are made against that background of expenditure and performance against the predetermined objectives. So I will just then zoom into the key findings of the committee in terms of observations and responses to those observations through the recommendations that the committee is making to the Minister of Tourism. So I won't be reading Chairperson word for word. I will just be talking to the issues so that maybe one moves with speed over the subsequent pages. So the way the observations are made is that there are those that are generic issues that are observed from both the department and the entity. And also on the basis of those generic observations, there will be generic observations that apply to both the department and the entity. But then there are few observations in regard to each organization. So the way then we organized the report is such that you have those generic observations and then specific observations, then you have generic recommendations and then specific recommendations. With regard to technical issues, on page 47, honorable members and chairperson, there was an issue of attendance of the meetings by the minister, which was raised sharply by the committee to say the committee is not satisfied that the minister did not appear when the department and SA Tourism were appearing for their annual reports for the 2021-22 financial year. And this also the minister having not attended also some quarterly reporting meetings. So the non-attendance of the meeting left the committee with certain unanswered questions, particularly with regard to the policy review process, with regard to clarity on the merger of SA Tourism and Brand South Africa, and also in regard to the process that was followed in the appointment of the interim board. And the members will recall that when the matters were discussed, the chair said the members must not venture into these issues because the minister was not there to respond. But we will talk to these issues later because there are new developments that I think necessitate an urgent intervention from the committee moving forward. Now, also on the issue of audit findings, as I've alluded to Chairperson, that there was an improvement from the previous financial year, with both the department and SA Tourism having unqualified audit opinion. But as the committee indicated that it was not generally happy with the audit findings as they were recurring issues. Now, there are issues on expenditure, particularly with irregular expenditure. The committee having observed a decrease from 21.2 million in the previous financial year to 8.6 million in the period under review. And this, the bulk of it sits with SA Tourism, with 79% of irregular expenditure having been incurred by South African tourism. Then there are issues, Chairperson, on the implementation of the audit auction plan, that it was not implemented to the satisfaction of the committee, as there were recurring findings pointing to the fact that some of the actions, particularly at SAT, were not attended to. Hence, we have recurring findings of the same matters that were reported to in the previous financial year. Then there is an issue now that will track back to the recommendations that the committee had made to the Minister of Finance about ensuring that there is money that is appropriated to ensure that there is sector recovery. And in the response, the Minister of Finance, and that is also included in the estimates of national expenditure for 2022, that there was an amount of 360 million rand that was allocated to the committee for the tourism equity fund. But the committee knows that there are issues also around the implementation of the equity fund. We'll talk to that a bit later. And there was also an indication of 250 million that is allocated to enhance tourism assets and infrastructure. That mainly goes to your infrastructure projects, and 80 million that was reprioritized to support short-term jobs in tourism. Now, those are generic issues in terms of the portfolio. Now, the specific observations now with regard to the department is on the issue of police and legislative review, as reported by the department in the annual report, that the policy review process was not finalized, but the green paper was developed and sent to the minister. And when they presented to the committee, they were still awaiting the signature from the minister to then go for public consultations. But with this having happened, it also delays the legislative review process. The audit opinion now specific to the department is an unqualified audit opinion, but with a matter of emphasis that was raised by the Auditor General, and that matter of emphasis was in relation to the restatement of corresponding figures that the department did when they were submitting the financial statements to the AG for auditing. And there is a matter also that we are raising, which is a general issue that caused the dissatisfaction of the committee in terms of assessment of expenditure against achievement of predetermined objectives. That though the committee, though the department spent 99.7% of their budget, but then they only achieved 80% of the predetermined objectives, which is then skewed when you look at expenditure against the achievement of the set objectives. Then there was an issue of irregular expenditure, which is reported to in the current period, but is a recurring matter from the previous financial year, that issue of 1.8 million irregular expenditure. And the department did explain what is the issue here. And this is the matter that the committee said, because it is still reported, so it is a cause for concern, and the committee and the department should work hard to ensure that they strengthen their SCM processes. Now, there is an issue of fruitless and wasteful expenditure, which is also a recurring matter in the financial year that amounts to 21 million. And it is mainly from late cancellation, no-show, or flight amendments in terms of travel bookings that the department makes. And mainly these are investigated by the department and condoned. So though the amount initially was around 125 million, 104 was written off, and only 21 million is reported as fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Then the department did not, which is an observation for the committee, that in the financial year under review, there was no unauthorized expenditure incurred by the department. However, there was an underspending of 4 million in program 2, 3.3 million in program 3, and 209,000 in program 4. And also there were virements made, though, and these virements were approved because they were made in accordance with the enabling prescripts. And then there is an issue of voted funds that were surrendered to the revenue fund. This matter is raised because the portfolio does not have much budget, but with that reported under expenditure, 7.5 million had to be returned to the revenue fund. There is an issue of leave entitlement also, as much as it was explained, but is a matter that is raised so that in future the department makes sure that all the leave entitlements are treated accordingly, so that there are no issues at a reporting period. Then, as I said, the issue of the Tourism Equity Fund, I will address it later. We're addressing it here to say the matter is still sub judice, as the fund is still interdicted by the Concord, and the department said they are waiting for the court dates on the issues to resolve the matter. But what the committee welcomed was the fact that there was an innovation from the side of the department as they seek a legal opinion, and then they were advised that no, they can capitalize the fund. So the fund is capitalized so that when the issues around the interdict are resolved, then implementation can go on seamlessly. Then there is an issue that was raised around the World Tourism Day, that the committee was not entirely happy with the level of organization of the event, but also that even though the board was there, the interim board of SAT, they were not recognized, and that this was a national event, but none from the department or SAT spoke at the event. So this is the matter that the chairperson said still needs to be followed up with the department. Now, also there was an issue around the delays in recouping the tourism guides relief fund. the committee raising a concern that at the time of reporting, only 51,700 had been recouped, though the department mentioned that up to September this year, they had recouped around 131,000, but it remained that at the time of reporting, the only amount that was recovered was at 51,000. Then there was an issue raised by various members on the issue of success of departmental youth and women programs. And the observations there was that there is, because the main concern raised by the committee was around the placement of graduates from these programs. And what was observed then was that there are some inroads that the department has made in order to ensure that people that have graduated from these programs, at least they are kept within the sector. One of them being that the youth and women are empowered in a number of skills, and they will need practical experience for those skills, and then the department is working with a number of employers to ensure that the youth that is trained in they are exposed for practical skills, and the department pays stipends in that regard. And also the issue around COVID-19, that because there were people, particularly young people and women that were retrenched, so the department got into agreement with the employers to continue hosting those retrenched youth, and then they were enrolled in training programs, so they were equipped with more skills, including norms and standards that have been adopted in the sector. And also the department indicated that there are negotiations with associations, particularly the accommodation sector, to ensure that there is placement for the youth that are trained in the program, and also the employability, particularly for sommeliers and chefs. They have been taken through an incubation program to ensure that they can open and operate their own businesses, and also that some community-based projects were being piloted to ensure that they are brought into the mainstream economy of tourism. Then the success around Palabura and Manyeleti incubators also was reported, and the Women Executive Development Program also that continues to partner with tertiary institutions to ensure that women get appropriate training. Honorable members, there's an issue around safety and security for tourists that continues to be a problem in the sector, and the recent fatal shooting of the German tourist, the committee raised issues around that, but also observed that the minister had moved with speed in ensuring that the victims were attended to appropriately, and to ensure that the reporting around the matter did not go viral and continue to further tarnish the image of the country. Though members did mention that there have been some advisories, particularly from US, in terms of traveling along the very same route, and the committee insisting that the department needs to do more, working with police to ensure that there is safety for tourists in the country generally. And the matter along the attacks on long distance buses, the matter that the committee attended to at length in this term, and is the matter that the committee continues to monitor. And also the chairperson has written to the Minister of Tourism to ensure that there is some urgent attention to the matter from the Nigerian perspective. And I haven't seen a response from the minister, so I think the chairperson is still awaiting a response to that letter. But the committee dealt with the matter, and the matter has been attended to from the office of the chairperson to the office of the minister. There is also the issue of increased cost of air travel, which is becoming a problem and that there needs to be more done by the Minister of Tourism in engaging the airlines to ensure that there is some reduction in costs. The issue around the vacancy rate, the department being commended for maintaining that vacancy rate of 10% that was set for the term, but the committee raising issues around the 51 posts that are still vacant, but also noting that the department said they do not have funds for those posts because there was budget cuts around the compensation of employees. So now, in regard to South African tourism, the specific observations thereof, firstly, as I alluded earlier, is the issue around the confusion about the interim board and the merger of SAT with Brand SA. So here is just the tracking of the issue to where it started and where it is now. The confusion, honorable members, comes with the fact that when the committee was considering the annual report of SAT, there was an interim board in place, and there were issues around the appointment of the interim board, and the chairperson had been trying to get to the bottom of the matter, even looking for the government gazette, which was not forthcoming. But now on Thursday, the 1st of September, the minister announced that no, the green light was given for the merger of the two organizations, which then meant then the interim board was responsible for both SAT and SA Tourism. But on the 17th of October, then Brand SA issued a call for proposals for nominations for people to serve in the board of Brand SA Trust, and the call for nominations is closing on the 28th of October. But after this draft was issued, honorable members, on the 19th, then there was, and the matter is in the, if members have not seen it, it is in the website of the Department of Tourism. There was a report or statement from the cabinet that said on the 19th, which then appointed the new board for South African tourism. Now, it causes further confusion because on the other hand, Brand SA has called for nominations for people to sit on its board, and on the other hand, also South African tourism has appointed the new board. And if members look at that board, you will notice that some of the people who were in the interim board are not there. And if I'm not mistaken, I did not even see the chairperson of the interim board in the new board. So this is a matter that the committee needs to follow up urgently, since it causes confusion. Now, the matter around the audit opinion also for the entity, as alluded, it was an unqualified opinion with compliance on legislation, but noteworthy here is the fact that there was an improvement from a qualified opinion in the prior year to an unqualified audit this year. Also around the budget expenditure patterns, in the current year, the entity spent 90% of its budget, and the committee was therefore unhappy with the fact that there were many targets that were not met, though an explanation was given. Some of them, they were kind of beyond the entity because they were affected by the COVID-19 issues, but others were within the purview of the entity to be able to achieve. And issues that were then noted with regard to expenditure was the issue of the 6.8 million irregular expenditure, comprising 4.4 million with regard to I Do Tourism campaign, 1.5 in relation to the Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency matter, and 830 in CAT in regard to the preferential point system that was not applied correctly. And also there's a matter of 45 million in relation to irregular expenditure that is being investigated. The entity did mention that they were conducting root cause assessment for all this expenditure, and they've finalized some of the issues. And if the issues are finalized, then some of these 45 million will be condoned. If the issues are not clarified, then it means that that 6.8 million might increase. Then there is an issue around the quality of financial statements, that the entity submitted financial statements that were not agreeable with the Auditor General, and the issue being raised by the committee that there is an audit and risk committee and also the office of the CFO, but also these issues continue to happen. Now there is an issue around the position of the Chief Executive Officer and other vacancies. This issue, honorable members, as you'll recall, was caused by the matter I've alluded to above of the possible merger. Then they couldn't appoint a CEO until the merger was finalized. And now that the board has been appointed, so it's a matter that needs to be clarified, and even timeframes in terms of when this post will be filled. But also there were other critical positions that were filled, particularly that of the Chief Operations Officer, that the entity is commended for having filled. And the issue that was raised sharply by the committee, also the issue of failure to implement IT governance, which has affected a number of other programs, because now the entity could not automate most of its functions, even affecting marketing, the National Conventions Bureau, and even issues of grading, because all they depended more on the governance. But the committee noted that there was consequence management around the IT, and the executive responsible for IT was terminated, and new personnel have been employed to deal with the issues of IT. Then on the issue of the shooting of the German tourist, now it is on marketing and messaging perspective, other than the policy issues on the side of the department. It is around the issues of the entity having moved with speed, as they reported to the committee, and deployed the Chief Operation Officer in Mpumalanga to ensure that they had intelligence on the ground and acted on the matter, thereby preventing the matter to be blown out of proportion, but also the messaging around the issues and giving assurance to the international markets. Now, the recommendations, as I said earlier, they are both to the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Tourism, and there are those that are generic and specific, but they are all, most of them, though they are specific to the department and the entity, but they are all made to the Minister of Tourism. And to the Minister of Finance, the recommendation proposed there is that the National Treasury appropriates a ring-fence budget that will be used to develop, enhance, and market domestic tourism. This is proposed, honorable members, given that domestic tourism is the one that is a cornerstone for many destinations that are successful around the world, and the need for South Africa to ensure that there is development of domestic tourism and it being affordable to locals, so that it becomes the cornerstone also for tourism in South Africa. And the second one is also around the sector recovery, that National Treasury working with the department, similar to the proposal made last year to the Minister of Finance, that there's money that is appropriated to ensure that there is sector recovery at least to 2019 levels before the pandemic. Now, the generic recommendations that cut across all the issues that were mentioned in the observations, it starts with the attendance of the minister, that it is recommended that the minister attends all the meetings of the portfolio committee, understanding that from time to time, the minister might not attend, but particularly for important meetings. Here I'm thinking things like your budget reports and your annual reports. Those are important for the minister to be in attendance. And also that the minister works with the accounting officers, meaning the CEO and the Director General of the department and the board of SAT, to develop and maintain audit action plans and implement those timeously. And this will address the issues of recurring findings, because as the Auditor General indicated to the committee, this was mainly due to the non-implementation of the audit action plan. The monitoring of performance and consequence management in relation to the findings that were made by the Auditor General both at SAT and the department, and implementation of preventative controls in supply chain management to prevent issues such as the Eastern Cape matter, where matters are only picked up when the invoice has to be picked, where an official signed an MOU and financial agreement with Eastern Cape without management. No, so if then there are preventative controls to ensure that such things do not happen in future. And also ensure that there is a follow-up on irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure as reported above in those amounts. And generally, then there is an improvement in the quality of the financial statements for both the department and South African tourism. For the minister to ensure that the achievement of targets and service delivery objectives is enhanced, and also ensuring that there are strategies that are put in place to ensure that that achievement proposed in 9.9 is really realized. And also, given the issues that were raised, that the minister submits to the portfolio committee audit action plans for both the department and SA Tourism, indicating similar to what happened in the previous financial year. So for the minister to appear before the committee with both the department and SAT to present an audit action plan to deal with these issues. And then 9.12 is around the cross-cutting. There are so many cross-cutting issues. It will talk to issues of safety, it will talk to issues of infrastructure, it will talk to issues of electricity. So there are so many cross-cutting issues that the Minister of Tourism is therefore employed to address together with his counterparts in cabinet. Then there are those that are specific to the Department of Tourism. The first one has to do with the issue of policy review process to ensure that the minister moves with speed to ensure, as the committee indicated, that this is submitted within the 6th Parliament so that this particular committee can deal with these issues together with the related legislation. And also the issue of follow-up on the beneficiaries that did not qualify, and that matter is still on the cards, as not all the funds have been recovered. And also, in particular, though the issue of cross-cutting issues is raised, but there is an urgent matter around the safety and security with all the proposals that were made by the committee, particularly on this one, to explore together with the Minister of Police the issue of establishing tourism police. And there are so many issues that the members raised here, even ensuring that the tourism monitors somehow are trained, and then it is the department, the Minister of Police, as it was indicated by the minister at a policy level, that can provide guidance in terms of how the matter can be addressed. Then there are recommendations in relation to South African tourism. This one has to do with the urgent full briefing that the committee must receive from the minister in terms of the whole matter around the merger, the interim board, the new board, also the call for proposal by Brand SA, just to give clarity on all these issues, to say where are issues at really, or whether the matter is continuing. Maybe for now, both organizations have to ensure stability for merger that is going to happen later, because for a minister to having said the president has given a go-ahead, it gives an indication that the merger is going on, but the confusion is why then the two organizations are appointing the board. So that the clarity is needed around that issue. And the two then recommendations will then talk to the board. It was the interim board, the legal standing of the interim board. So these are issues that we raised with the new board. I'm not sure whether we need to take, I will propose that maybe we take this one out, but members will indicate, because still the issue of the interim board was not clarified. And if the interim board is no more, the minister will still have to explain what happened with that interim board. Now, also the whole issue of merger, that will be comprehensively covered when the minister comes to the committee in relation to the proposal that is made in 9.16. So, Honorable Chairperson and members, these are the observations and recommendations that are made in regard to the portfolio. We will therefore request that members give us further guidance on issues, on additions that you like to have, or omissions, things that you want us to delete, if any, so that at least, as I requested at the beginning, that by end of this meeting, at least we have a document that we can ATC by end of business today. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kuzayo, for the presentation and also briefing us for on the report. We still have to hear from the rebates to be inclusive of issues which were discussed by the portfolio committee. I would like to also comment myself on the issues which I think we also need to flag. If possible, we will correct if we are not, because we are not perfect. To say, Mr. Kuzayo, Dr. Kuzayo, I didn't hear us call you commenting on the issue of the employment patterns which we were actually eager to see them changing in the tourism industry, in particular to those people who are given first preference versus South Africans. Hence, the unemployment rate in South Africa increases, and you find the increase of those in neighboring countries' employment in South Africa. And that is what we requested for, and it has been addressed for several years as we took over this sixth administration. And my worry is that I don't see any improvement in terms of commitment from other departments that are supposed to be working with us to ensure that we have this, we deal with these imbalances in terms of unemployment. The other one is about the permits of the tour operators. Those areas where we tried to deal with the distribution of the permits for the tour operators in the tourism industry in South Africa, where we found that we are not happy on how they are being distributed. Yes, I think that those are the two issues that I want to raise, and I will therefore also give opportunity to other members of the portfolio committees. Also, I didn't hear, sorry, before I can hand over, I also didn't hear about the tourism, what do you call those tourism projects, EPWP projects, where we find that some of the projects we were not happy with them. Maybe if I didn't hear you, I might have maybe been, it might have been an oversight from my side. But I'm just concerned about that not being flagged onto this report to say those we need to see improvement on those 72 projects. Was it 72 or I can't remember the number of projects that we are looking at to see progress made on them, as well as those that have been started to see them being completed. And we don't see them having been completed, and our concern is to see progress in that area. Thank you very much. I want to give this opportunity to the honorable members of the portfolio committee to also make some inputs to the same report, and maybe when we think that there are areas which are not covered, that we also need to be included. Dr. Kuzari will assist us in reminding us that no, this is correct and this is not going to make it for this report. Thank you very much. Honorable members, over to you. Over to honorable members for the inputs, or maybe we adopt the report as it was with amendments.
Who can talk first, Chair?
I haven't seen the hands because my facility don't allow me to see the hands, but honorable members, I allow you to shout if you are available to speak. Thank you very much. The same one who just asked me now, please start. Yes.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Sorry, and I hope I'm not asking something which was included. I just got cut off twice, and sometimes it breaks. Is the tourism grading? I mean, remember we'd spoken about this at length. We mentioned it one or two times as well in the past few months again, which was supposed to be amended in the policy change. Has this been included in this report? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope Dr. Kuza is noting that as well. Any other member, please shout. Please shout if
Honorable Chair.
Yes, honorable member, Maketa Mabala.
Yes, Chair. When I check the recommendation, but on the observation and on the report, it indicates the safety and the security of tourism. But at our recommendation, there is no there's no recommendation, and then another thing, we have to check the time frames of what we recommended, because if you say the minister must just come to the committee, but if you don't have the time frame, because the minister actually is undermining us, so now we cannot just say we have to have a time frame when the minister must come to the committee, so that we can monitor what our recommendations are saying. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very, very much. Yes, I also had that concern, Honorable Katamabala, to say there were some few recommendations from the committee, and we need to be assisted to see the possible recommendation out of them all. And therefore, we also need to endorse the recommendation that the committee recommends, so that we take it as a definite recommendation and see the possibility, because the department is not coming up with recommendation, with proposals, in fact, and therefore we need to actually either get the recommendations done, or maybe I think we need to hear the recommendations from the department itself, what they think they will implement. How will they implement the safety and security of our tourists in our country who are coming into our country? I remember some of the members raised the EPWP training and development, the tourism monitors training and development to further safety and security, since we cannot do policing as tourism. There are many other recommendations which we really need to be assisted in terms of the compliance with the policies of this government, or the framework. So we still need to work on that before maybe the end of the day, because I hear Dr. Kuzai saying it is we need to submit that report by the end of the day today. He will see how best possible can he put it, even if it's not definite, but make a commitment of our safety and security on that part for our tourists, to ensure that the department makes it possible initiatives to ensure that there is security for our tourists, to complete a recommendation that will make sense to South Africa and to those tourists in South Africa, that the committee is very much concerned and we want to do something about the safety of our tourists. Thank you very much. Can we hear from another members?
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Winkler.
Oh, thank you. So thank you for the report. I do think that there are a few things that we had discussed as a committee that are pivotal to include in the report. The one was, and I'm not sure if I missed this, is about why this assent by the minister to a new CEO took such a long time, and why is it taking such a long time, and why she did not assent to the recommendation made by the previous for a new CEO. So perhaps address that. Then the other was, I had brought up the issue of the digital nomad visa and how our interaction with other concurrent departments like Home Affairs, like policing, like COCTA in terms of infrastructure, and the role that they have to play in us being able to effectively carry out our mandate as tourism, and that there's not enough emphasis being placed on, I think, cross-departmental engagements, and that this is something as a committee that we have recurrently brought up in our sittings, that there's not enough being done about, I think, security and safety for visitors. And now we've just lately had that incident with a German tourist. We've spoken about infrastructure collapse and how there needs to be proper engagement with COCTA. In Durban, I had mentioned that tourism numbers have declined by 82%. Yesterday, I went on an oversight to the beachfront and it was a ghost town, and this is summer. I've never seen Durban look this way. And the tourism authorities, they just don't know what to do, because they don't know what to actually market anymore when it comes to Durban. Everything is collapsing around infrastructure. Then as I said, the issue with Home Affairs and trying to ease access into the country for foreign visitors, rolling out a digital nomad visa, e-visas for other key markets. These are huge things that are the main business of tourism that I don't think we are addressing adequately enough. And then I think the last one was, no, yeah, that's all for me at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Winkler. I think the content advisor captured that well. But I also think on this, adding to your Honorable Member Winkler, your input, the infrastructure development department needs to come in. Remember, the KZN disasters might have contributed to the decline of tourism in KZN. And the department need to assist tourism to ensure that they reshape the infrastructure of KZN. And therefore, I think the content advisor from these inputs that combines with the my input that is combined with Comrade Winkler's input, you'll have to work around that to make sense of what we're trying to say as the Department of as the Tourism Committee. The other matters I think you have also captured from honorable members. I'm not sure if the members are still also having some issues.
Chair.
Yes, honorable members. Can I start with the one? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. The issue of IT governance and digitalizing the tourism industry is not covered. Can they please work on it, because there are serious issues on IT governance. And also the issue of supporting women in tourism, it must be covered, because last time few women were covered, and only in Gauteng is where they covered many women. The incubation program must work hand in hand with formalizing informal tourism business, because there are so many informal tourism business that are not formalized, and they suffer. Look, when we had COVID, they couldn't even get any assistance because they are not formal, and therefore no financial assistance, and even their own growth. If they are informal, it's difficult for them to get financial assistance. And the only way they can grow is through this incubation program. The issue of tourism monitors program, that they must be insourced and work for the department, instead of having tourism monitors making this thing to be a tender and spend a lot of money. They can try by giving them a contract and see if there's the possibility of getting them permanently. The issue of hospitality youth program, that program must be implemented, Chair. Another one, in China, they call it toilet revolution. There is a serious problem of hygiene problem, especially in our rural areas. When tourists go there, there's not even a single toilet to use. There's no toilet on the way, there's nothing. So the department must see to it that there are toilets. I mean, if China can do it, we can also do it. It seems as a small problem, but it's a big problem of not having toilets around you. It's only when you go to big cities where at the beach you will find toilets, but in tourist attraction sites in the rural areas, there are absolutely no toilets. For example, you go to Chachingo, there you are not going to find any toilet, and tourists really love that place. Developing tourist attraction sites in rural areas. Tourism can only be Durban and Cape Town. You have beautiful places in Limpopo, natural places that are untapped, natural places that can be developed and attract a lot of tourists. Those places need to be developed, because tourists are visiting them on their natural state. So something can be done with them and they can attract more. Chair, you spoke of hiring, and you spoke of our people not getting jobs and the issue of foreigners and all those things. The only thing that needs to be done there, we must look at the implementation of minimum wage in that tourism industry, because even those we say our African brothers who are working there, we say it's foreigners, they are still suffering as well because they are not paid enough. These people hire our people from outside South Africa so that they can pay them 1,000, 1,500. So if we implement minimum wage, there will be equality in terms of implementing South Africans and people from outside South Africa, because the wage is the same. So they do not hire people from South Africa so that they can exploit people from outside South Africa. So if we work with Department of Labor for the implementation of minimum wage in the tourism industry, then because our people are abused, Chair. You will find one person is working as a security, as a cleaner, as a receptionist at the same time. This person doesn't even go home and is getting 1,000 or 1,500. So we must look into that as well. Lastly, Chair, if not established, we must establish and organize the implementation of the market development strategies of domestic tourism. There must be something done with domestic tourism in that regard. And also, if not done, we must, in fact, it's not done, because in the audit it says so. We must organize the survey, planning, development, and protection of the tourism resources. That should be done as well. Lastly, we must standardize the tourist market order, supervise the quality of the service, and maintain legal rights of tourists and operators. We can't have our tourists being abused by low quality of services, so that if you are in tourist business, you must know you are representing your country, and there you must give the quality services, because if you don't, the one tourist is going back to say, no, South Africa is not a place to visit. So therefore we need to standardize that in that regard. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very, very much, Honorable Matumba. I think you have nailed it. Yes, Honorable.
It's the Freitas here.
You may finish, Chair.
Okay, can I give Honorable De Freitas and Honorable Pusha thereafter? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. I'm going to keep my camera off with your indulgence because my signal is not great. I'm not going to repeat what has already been mentioned. What I do want to just add on is I want to, first of all, make a suggestion. Well, first of all, I want to thank Dr. Kozwai for always a professional document and well-researched. So thank you to the doctor. And secondly is there are some recommendations going back from previous years. And I wonder if it wouldn't be an idea over and above this report to maybe in future look at what our recommendations are and where each of those recommendations, what is the status of each one of them. I know it's falling outside of the scope of this report, but there are, as has been mentioned before by many members, there are issues that have not been addressed or partially addressed, and it might be useful to perhaps have a matrix to see where each one of them is. That's the first point. The second point I want to suggest, and Chair, you also mentioned the frustration of how some of these departments that are supposed to cooperate with tourism aren't cooperating. And would it not be an idea in our recommendations to suggest that lack of a better word, a war room gets set up where all the departments communicate with each other and with tourism to link up to see where the deficiencies are and how, and to ensure that they're all talking to each other? Because it's clear to me that that's where the breakdown is each of the departments are concerning themselves with their own issues, and in some cases are not looking at the tourism angle of the thing, and perhaps a war room or a nerve center, whatever you want to call it, if that's set up, that would then ensure that a lot of our concerns would be addressed. So with your indulgence in the committees, perhaps we could put that as a recommendation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mbushe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, honorable members and the support team. Honorable Chair, I also appreciate the presentation, concurring with the Honorable De Freitas on the work that is done by the Dr. Kuzwayo. Chair, I also agree with the Honorable De Freitas on the issue that has to do with repeat findings, Chair. Chairperson, on 9.7, Chair, it speaks to a follow-up on the issue that has to do with irregular expenditure. I'm not sure, Chairperson, my view is that we need to be a bit firm. Instead of a follow-up, we must call for the department to have consequences or corrective measures for irregular and fruitless expenditure. Also, Chairperson, on 9.6, as it relates to supply chain, on the instead of preventative measures, Chair, I so wish that we call on the department to ensure that the officials responsible, they face the law. Those who have contravened the legislation, they must face consequences, Chairperson, for such. Also, Chairperson, on the issue that has to do with the board, I do not think we are to take it out of the report, because it is part of our deliberation as we were dealing with the department, Chairperson. It is worth noting the developments, Chair, and the concerns that we have around the board, Chairperson. Nonetheless, I'm happy with the findings and the observations and the recommendation and the additions made by the members, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any other member who wants to add or maybe make us realize the omissions to the report? I'm not sure if I can now wrap up the item and move to the next. Before I move to that, I do that, I can give the opportunity 1 second, 1 minute to the members to remember what they need to, because this is to the reports. To me, it shows that maybe I didn't hear Honorable Kubela. You know, she has a very good background in terms of understanding this tourism. We are all new here. Honorable Kubela, I didn't hear you saying anything, because I know you should be having
no, Chair. I didn't raise my hand. However, I am in support of the draft report. It's outlining of the recommendations that should be tabled as a complete report for the budgetary review that should be taken into account into the medium-term budget policy statement.
I thank you so much, Honorable Kubela. I think we have now exhausted this report, and Mr. Kuzwayo, Dr. Kuzwayo, who is our content advisor, will take it from where we have actually added and also try to correct and amend where we think we need to see or add where we have made some omissions. but I must say the report from its own first presentation, it was a fantastic, well-compiled report, Dr. Kuzayo, and thank you so much for that report. It actually contains most of the issues that we discussed, and it's a job well done, I must say. To the team and to yourself as well. Honourable members, any mover for the adoption of this report? Oh, I'm not sure if I'm moving to the right direction. Is it the right stage to report to move for the adoption of the report, Honourable Makubela?
Yes, Chair, because the content advisor team had asked us to actually adopt the report for this meeting so that it can be, they can make the adjustments and the changes so that it can be tabled, ATC before the budget policy statement tomorrow.
Okay. Yes, honourable members, any mover, I thank you very much, Honourable Makubele, for that guidance. Do we have any mover for the adoption of this report, honourable members?
Chair,
Honourable Chair.
I move for the adoption of the report, Chairperson.
Thank you
with
very
amendment.
much. Oh, thank you very much, Honourable Bushe. Any seconder, honourable members?
Honourable Makubela here, I second the move for the adoption of the report with its amendments as a true reflection of what the status quo in the tourism sector in the department and SAT is, with its amendments to be formally adopted for tabling in the ATC.
Oh, thank you very much for even elaborating the reports processes that you must go through. Okay, honourable member, and we're releasing it to be taken for further processes. Honourable Mr. Jerry, can we move to the next item, please?
Okay, Chairperson, the next item on the agenda are the minutes of the last meeting of the 18th, Chairperson. The meetings that we had with the South African tourism, the minutes were circulated to members of the committee. So if members have no issues with regard to those minutes, we are proposing that the committee adopts that draft minutes.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the minutes were circulated to all the members of the committee. Can we have any comment before we can adopt? Any comment to the minutes? Or if there are no comments, then we can adopt the minutes and second them. Any comment to the minutes? 1, 2, 3, going. And anybody moving for the adoption? Honorable members? Adoption of the previous minutes? Honorable members, adoption of the previous set of minutes.
Chair, I see Honorable Winkler's hand is up, Chair, and Honorable De Freitas' hand as well are up, Chairperson.
Okay, I will give Honorable Winkler to move and Honorable De Freitas to second. Honorable Winkler.
Okay, that was actually a legacy hand, but I'll move to adopt the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, Honorable De Freitas.
I'll second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The minutes are also moved and seconded for adoption. I think this is the last. These are the two last. That was the last item. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Jerry.
Yes, Chairperson. Chair, it was just also to indicate to members tomorrow, as we know, is the medium-term budget policy statement. There was some information that we received from the Parliamentary Budget Office. That information was circulated to members just to go through it, just for information purposes, honorable members. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very, very much. Honorable Mr. Jerry. Mr. Kuzayo, thank you very much for the report. I want to thank everyone for the hard work, and also maybe request that if all the additions that you'll have made to the report and highlight them in red and send them all, even if the report is gone already, to the ETC cluster and for adoption of that before the day of tomorrow. Can you also have just the insight of the report, so that it's something that we also have seen that it is definitely that report that we know, even though we have no time anymore to comment on it, but at least those additions and amendments that we have done should actually reflect, and we must see them also before the end of tomorrow. Sent via email by Mr. Jerry to our good selves. I will appreciate that. I don't know if it's possible before I close the meeting.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
It's Manny de Freitas. May I bring up an item with your indulgence?
No problem. Let's hear.
I just wanted to inquire, Chair, and I want to thank the Chair. Last week we had a physical meeting, and I'm not sure how the other members felt, but I felt that it was, in my mind, it felt a lot more productive because we were a physical meeting, and I know we're competing with other portfolio committees for venues and so forth. But would it be possible to see if we could have more regular physical meetings in the future? I know that there are logistical issues, but I wonder if that could be considered, because I found last week's meeting quite useful and easier to work with in a physical form. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable de Freitas, I think that is the principle that we are trying to work on. The Parliament, not we, the Parliament is trying to work on, since COVID-19 is no longer like before. We just need to actually look at the time and space that is available for that for the physical meetings. And I think this is what actually the Parliament wants to see happening regularly. I also support your view, yes. Thank you very much. We will hear maybe most of those physical meetings. Honorable Jerry, Mr. Jerry is also listening to our concern. Maybe he will hear from the Parliament when is the venue available. Is Mr. Jerry saying something about it also?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, yes, I think the committee chairperson has already made that. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, can you come in again?
Oh, okay. No, I was saying, Chair, no, the committee chairperson has already made that decision. It was only for today's meeting that a request was made to the chair for the meeting to be virtual. Otherwise, the rest of our meetings that will follow will be physical meetings, chairperson.
Okay, thank you very much.
By the committee.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. de Freitas. I think you are happy with the response from Mr. Jerry. Honorable members, I think this was the last item that was serving, unless we opened the meeting, unfortunately, because we had other concerns, but I'm taking that the meeting has now come to an end, and this is time to adjourn the meeting. And I thank everyone for having attended this meeting and for your valued contributions that you've made to this committee. And I thank you so much, and the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, honorable members.
Thank you,
Chairperson. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Colleagues, can I ask the support team just to remain before we just for us to look at the issues that were raised by members, and then how do we incorporate them in the rest of the report? Susanda, are you still there?
I'm still here, Mr. B.
Okay, okay. Sbo, are you still there? Nozuko, Cindy, who else? Okay, Ness, are you there?
I think Nlas has logged out.
Oh, okay, she has logged out already. Okay, now it's fine. Let's remain colleagues just for us to just to see how do we tighten up this tie up all these few loose ends that members they have raised now.
I think the meeting is still being streamed on YouTube though, Mr. B.
Oh, okay. So
So I don't know
okay.
if you,
Okay,
yeah.
okay. Let me what do we do now? Okay, let me end it, ne? And then we
Then we log again.
log again.
Okay.